In 2023, Vipin Gupta's daughter secured a 95% mark in her class 10. Her school collaborated with education technology company Byju to felicitate all the toppers. Gupta's daughter came home with a medal, a certificate, and a barrage of calls from the company asking the Bareilly-based middle-class chemist to join a free online counseling session. He told me, I work with only one intention, that my child should be able to study, get a good job, and secure her future. Byju said their material and guidance would help her travel that extra mile. So the very same day, this chemist used his credit card to buy a course for the 11th, 12th standard and the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, NEET. He paid a total of 78,000 rupees. He also paid another 10,000 rupees to buy a tablet computer device. Byju's promised to send some soft copies and books for a trial period, Gupta said. The books, however, never landed. Gupta then eventually went through a rigmarole of first inquiring about the status of the books and the soft copy material, then figuring out that he was never going to get them and eventually asking for a refund. He said, they ask you to call 100 helpline numbers and you will get 100 ticket numbers. How can such a big company, which Shah Rukh Khan himself had endorsed, behave like this? He said even a thele wala, a hawker, is better than this. You don't like the wares? He will give you a refund straight away. There has been a litany of complaints and refund requests like Gupta's, but Think and Learn Private Limited, popularly known as Byju's, has barely had the time and resources to deal with them. Over the last 2 years, it has been busier fighting fires blazing on all fronts. It has battled allegations of mismanagement from a set of investors, landed in insolvency proceedings, it has been unable to pay salaries of employees on time, and it has had probes initiated against it by multiple agencies such as the Enforcement Directorate and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The company's valuation, which was $22 billion in 2022, has plummeted to zero. The net worth of founder Byju Raveendran, which peaked at $3.6 billion in 2022 and stood at $2.1 billion last year, has dropped to zero, according to the Forbes Billionaires Index 2024. Behind the company's near decimation is a tale of an ambitious startup that created a market it could not sustain, chased too much too quickly, guzzled cash in acquisitions, allegedly kept its books opaque, delayed financial results, and got into conflicts with a set of investors who, on their part, perhaps did not ask the right questions at the right time. In March this year, Byju Raveendran finally spoke up on the controversy surrounding his company. He had otherwise stayed silent as his company's financial health kept on deteriorating and employees as well as customers kept suffering. Amid the chaos, there were reports of the founder having also escaped to Dubai with his family, which Raveendran later said that he had not run away but was in Dubai for his dad's medical treatment. In March this year, in a LinkedIn post, he said, "Nothing is ever as good as it seems, nor as bad as they make you believe. The truth usually lies somewhere in between. So I am here to talk about the last 20 years, the good 17, the bad 2, and the ugly 1. No filters, only facts." He also wrote about how he planned to relaunch Think and Learn Private Limited by hiring staff from the pool of the company's former employees and that it would be sooner than expected. Meanwhile, the company's insolvency resolution process is now nearing a decisive stage, with two companies, the Manipal Group and Upgrad, which is an edtech company run by Ronnie Screwvala, having submitted expressions of interest this month. But how did the company that was once India's hottest startup reach this stage? Anil K. Sood, professor and co-founder at the Hyderabad-based Institute for Advanced Studies in Complex Choices, had last year, in a conversation with me, said the board should have known about it. Byju's growth was cash guzzling. Once it becomes a cash guzzling business, the probability of growth declines. Investors start getting concerned, as once you know it is going to be a cash guzzling business, you cannot plan an exit for the next 5 to 10 years. The investors shouldn't have let the company infuse so much money, but one after another, they were simply trying to protect their valuations. Like Gupta in Bareilly, there were many who fell prey to the exact same script. Once they were tapped as potential customers, Byju's assigned them a counselor to interact with them over the phone. These counselors use the exact same hook phrases. Your child is very talented. With some extra effort, he or she can achieve what they want. A tree flourishes when watered early. The counselors then asked the families to buy Byju's tablet computers at a discounted price or in some cases free of cost like a scholarship. People like Gupta were also told that they could ask for a refund within 15 days if they didn't like the course. One such customer, Ajay Kumar Sahu, had told me that his brother attended the course for 4 or 5 days but did not understand any. Sahu was told that if he cancelled in 15 days, he would get a full refund. So he sent a cancellation email within 4 days, but he received no reply. He called the counselor who started abusing him and eventually blocked his number. Sahu's brother was in the 7th standard and was shown dreams of potentially becoming an IAS officer if he goes that extra mile now. Sahu had said, the counselor had said that if the base was strong, he would perform better. That if a tree is watered from the beginning, it will prosper better. Sahu works as a mechanical engineer in Chandrapur, Odisha and is the sole breadwinner of his family. Now, Byju Raveendran was born in a family of teachers in a coastal town of Kerala and was initially a tutor himself. He taught maths to some of his friends while holding down a permanent job at a shipping firm and later helped a few prepare for the hyper-competitive common admission test for graduate management programs. The legend about Byju Raveendran is that he himself had cracked the test with a 100% score despite having hardly studied for it. He gradually went from teaching just a handful of learners to hundreds of students in an auditorium, even taking classes digitally. He formally launched himself as an education technology entrepreneur in 2011 when he incorporated his company Think and Learn Private Limited. His wife Divya Gokulnath and brother Byju Raveendran were the co-founders. Byju's grew to offer all sorts of courses for all ages, right from lower kindergarten to class 12, and those who wanted to appear for examinations such as IIT JEE, UPSC, NEET, and so on. In edtech jargon, this is known as the K-12, kindergarten to 12th segment. The company also started selling its own hardware to deliver its courses. Marketing agents of Byju's became a common sight outside educational stationery shops, large institutes, malls, parks, and even toy shops, ambushing parents and hard-selling the idea that their product could take even a 4-year-old the extra mile. These efforts paid off during the COVID-19 pandemic, when a shift to digital education gave a boost to the edtech sector. According to an October 2020 report by NASSCOM, an association of Indian technology companies, the user base for the K-12 segment showed a 40% increase in willingness to pay and an 83% jump in the number of paid subscribers during the pandemic. The report said that during the lockdown, Byju's had added 7.5 million new users with a valuation of $10 billion. It also placed Byju's at the top of a list of 19 edtech unicorns across the world. Teachers say digital education companies initially tried to take the market share of traditional tuition centers. During the COVID pandemic, they thought they could even become mainstream. One such secondary school teacher based in Mumbai, Merlin Dominic, had told me, when COVID hit, classroom teachers had to suddenly learn the world of online education. But these edtech companies like Byju's or Unacademy already had their systems up and running, and they expanded. But during the lockdown, conventional teachers like her also learned the ropes of digital education, incorporating PowerPoint presentations into their teaching, interactive formats, correcting papers online, and having animated videos. When the world went back to normalcy, they started incorporating a lot of these into their classroom teaching. Once everyone had it, these edtech firms were not so special anymore. So what exactly went wrong? Between 2020 and 2021, Byju's pumped ample cash into business expansion and went on an acquisition spree. The company's financials for 2020-2021 fiscal reflected this optimism. Byju's widened its consolidated loss to 4599.08 crore rupees in fiscal 2020-2021 from 305.5 crore a year before. Its total expenditure for the year more than doubled to 7027.47 crore rupees from 2873.34 crore rupees. The loss during the year is due to COVID-19 and attributable to various business expansion activities taken up by the company and its subsidiaries, though the actual benefit of such expansion activities will be realized in the long term. The company had said then in its financial statement for the fiscal to justify the loss. Between 2020 and 2022, Byju's made 22 acquisitions, according to company sources. At least 10 of these were major assets, including Akash Educational Services, Topper Technologies, and White Hat Education Technology. It was at this peak that the company raised a now contentious $1.2 billion loan through its wholly owned subsidiary Byju's Alpha Inc. Earlier this year, the US-based subsidiary, which was trying to get the terms of the term loan, which is basically a loan given for a specified period of time that must be repaid in regular installments, renegotiated, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings in a Delaware court. This month, the Delaware Bankruptcy Court has ordered Byju Raveendran to pay more than $1.07 billion, holding him personally responsible for the movement and concealment of funds from Byju's Alpha. Also, Glass Trust Company LLC, an administrative agent that represents over 100 lenders that gave money to Byju's Alpha, initiated insolvency proceedings against Think and Learn in the NCLT. In one of his LinkedIn posts, Byju Raveendran had this year alleged criminal collusion between a restructuring partner at EY India, Glass Trust, and the court-appointed interim resolution professional. A person close to the Raveendran family, who did not wish to be named, said that the entrepreneur did make some mistakes, but the Indian edtech sector was virtually pioneered by his company. He said he did not have any roadmap or precedent to rely on. The companies that are coming up now can learn from the experience of Byju's. Moreover, the founders do not come from a business background. They are passionate about what they do. They were simply learning on the go, this person said. Meanwhile, there were consistent delays in finalizing and filing financial results. The 2020-2021 results were approved for issue by the company's board only on 30th August 2022, while the results for 21-22 fiscal were finalized and approved by the board only on 1st November 2023. In its results statement, the company attributed the delay in finalizing the 2020-21 fiscal results to disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It also attributed the delay to the number of acquisitions it completed subsequent to March 31st, 2021, saying that they required significant effort and focus in integrating and streamlining the operations of the various entities acquired. There was no concrete explanation for why the 2021-2022 statements were delayed. The above-mentioned source was close to the Raveendran family said that the financial results were delayed beyond a point because the auditor, Deloitte, resigned around June 2023. The founders intended to wrap up the fiscal 2023 results too in the first quarter of 2024, but all the legal issues started causing a delay, he said. A source with direct knowledge of the matter said that the breaking point in the relations between the scorned investors and the promoters was the delay in the fiscal 2022 audited results that were committed to them a long time ago. No financials were shared with the investors, he said. Showing screenshots in Zoom meetings doesn't translate into opening the company's books for investors. Finally, in June or July 2023, something snapped. In June 2023, G.V. Ravi Shankar of the venture capital firm Peak XV Partners, Vivian Wu of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and Russell Dreisenstock of the investor group Prosus all stepped down from the Byju's board. Around the same time, Deloitte also resigned as the company's auditor, citing delays in the preparation of financial statements and the inability even to start an audit. In a statement dated 25th July 2023, Prosus said that the Byju's leadership had regularly disregarded its directors' advice and recommendations related to strategic, operational, legal, and corporate governance matters. The decision for our director to step down from the Byju's board was taken after it became clear that he was unable to fulfill his fiduciary duty to serve the long-term interests of the company and its stakeholders, the investor had said in the statement. Finally, last year, investors such as MIH edtech Investments, a Prosus entity, Peak XV Partners, Sofina and General Atlantic, who had all once confidently pumped in capital into the education startup, wary of putting a penny more, dragged Byju's to the National Company Law Tribunal for shareholder oppression and mismanagement. In an extraordinary general meeting on 23rd February last year, they voted for the founder and chief executive Byju Raveendran and the company's other founders to step down. Byju Raveendran initially dug in his heels. He approached the Karnataka High Court and got a stay on the resolution that attempted to oust him. He also drove a contentious rights issue that investors wanted stayed, and then even launched a second one. The company has been directed to not use the proceedings till the disposal of the main petition. However, in July 2024, the NCLT admitted the insolvency petition against the firm filed by the Board of Control for Cricket in India for pending dues and appointed an interim resolution professional, which basically meant that the founder had lost control of his firm. Raveendran Byju blamed the scorned investors for his company being unable to pay employees their salaries on time during this period. On 1st April 2024, instead of salaries in their bank accounts, the employees of Byju's got an apology in their inbox. We regret to inform you that there will again be a delay in the disbursement of salaries. A few misguided foreign investors in Byju's have obtained an interim order in late February, which has restricted usage of the funds raised through the successful rights issue. This irresponsible action by the four investors has compelled us to temporarily hold the dispersal of salaries until the restriction is lifted. Founder Byju wrote in an email to his firm's employee base of about 13,000 people then. So how did the relations between the founder and investors deteriorate to this extent? There is a long sequence of events that, bit by bit, withered relations between the founders and the scorned investors. But the last straw was the latter's push to remove the founders from the management as well as the controversial rights issue. In the NCLT, the advocate for Peak XV Partners argued that if the rights issue went ahead, the petitioner's shareholding would be reduced from 24.5% to 2% if they did not subscribe. And there is the apprehension that if they did subscribe, the money will be lost, the advocate said. Those directly associated with the founders of Byju's emphasized just how much the company needed the money from the rights issue at that time. The firm needed to pay the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI. Payments had been pending for a jersey sponsorship deal, and this had led to proceedings before the NCLT. The full and final settlement of many employees were pending. Provident fund contributions were pending. Salaries were pending. Payments of vendors who had stopped working with Byju's months ago were also left pending. The above-mentioned source close to the Raveendran family had said. By then, the founders, they said, had already infused $1.1 billion of their personal wealth into the company in the preceding 18 months. This was all the money they said that they had made when the going was good. They had even mortgaged their homes, that source said. According to the last available financial statement of the company for 2021-22 fiscal, Byju's consolidated borrowings, which include the contentious term loan, stood at 11,601.58 crore, which is roughly $1.39 billion. Persons working closely with the company also talk about how the firm had been restructuring itself and cutting down expenses since about October 2023. It had laid off about 3,000 employees since then, shut down offices, and slashed its monthly burn to about Rs 50 crore from 200 crore, they said. In July 2023, Byju's had constituted an advisory council comprising TV Mohandas Pai, one of the company's earliest investors, and former State Bank of India chairman Rajneesh Kumar to mentor the firm's board. The council, however, could not break the impasse between the disconcerted investors and Byju Raveendran, multiple sources said. Consistent requests by investors to make some key appointments with a financial background went unheeded, according to people familiar with the sequence of events. In hindsight, a source said, one can say that the investors should have spoken out much earlier, but it is like in a marriage. You cannot start making accusations of mismanagement without evidence, this person said. Now, those who know Byju Raveendran describe him like any passionate startup founder who is willing to move mountains for his product, but one who was at the very least misguided. A source close to the Raveendran family said that those rallying for the founder believe that he had fallen victim to the greed of investors. He said that investors encouraged all the acquisitions, promised Byju Raveendran the capital, and got secondary investments. All decisions were taken with board approval, and when the going was good, Byju Raveendran put the money back in the company at a high valuation. This source added, the three directors resigned and went public with their grievances. That shouldn't have been done. Based on whatever they wrote, the Enforcement Directorate also went after the company. The rupees 9,000 crore ED notice was for all acquisitions that were done through proper channels, this source said. This, he said, was a classic case of investors trying to ride roughshod over a great entrepreneur. The ED's probe into Byju's with regards to an alleged foreign exchange violation case. It had alleged that the company and its chief promoter had failed to submit documents of imports against advance remittances made outside India, delayed filing of documents against foreign direct investments received into the company, and so on. In February this year, it also upgraded a lookout circular it had issued against Byju Raveendran. In May this year, Byju Raveendran gave an interview to ANI in which he clarified that there was never a charge sheet. There were just summons. He went and met officials and cooperated in the probe, and that the investigation is closed now. According to sources close to the developments, one of the questions raised by the warring investors who have gone to the NCLT was regarding a deal that Think and Learn had struck in Dubai with an entity called More Ideas General Trading LLC as its sole selling agent in the Gulf Cooperation Council. They alleged that Byju's paid this entity large amounts in commission but failed to recover the revenue. In a statement, Byju's had said that the company has not paid any commission to the vendor since it started defaulting on payments. The outstanding net amount due was $74 million, the statement said. In recent months, the company started recovering some of the dues after persistent legal pressure, the company said. It also added that it had not booked any fresh sales from this vendor in 2022-23 or 2023-24. According to a statement by Prosus dated 1st February 2024, the investor group had requisitioned an EGM first in July 2023 and later in December 2023, but the notices were disregarded. Eventually, these investors called for one in January 2024, and when it was held the following month, they voted for a change in the company's leadership. The EGM itself turned out to be a high-voltage event where 147 people logged in, of whom only 30 were real shareholders, the sources said. In a letter to Byju's employees, Byju Raveendran called the EGM a farce. He further said, regardless of the uncalled for drama, the management is devoting its full attention to the company's operations with a vision for the company unmarred. The sun will rise again tomorrow and we will continue our business, undeterred by the rumors and false narratives being circulated. The above-mentioned source close to Raveendran, however, admits that the entrepreneur did make a few mistakes. It is partially true, he said, that he was opaque with his books and he should have put a chief financial officer in place years ago. He adds, it is a chain of events that happened. You cannot blame one person, you have to blame both sides for not working together. You need a good, assertive board and founders who do not go overboard. Regardless, the company and its shareholders are engaged in a protracted legal battle. Meanwhile, many like Gupta from Bareilly or Sahu from Odisha are still awaiting their refunds, and many employees are waiting for their salaries and dues. That's all I have for you for now. That's the story of Byju's in a nutshell. I'm Manasi Phadke signing off for The Print.